Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is a style of coffee prepared in a Jesuit, using very finely ground coffee beans without filtering. Preparation. Preparation. Turkish coffee is very finely ground coffee brewed by boiling. Any coffee bean may be used. Arabica varieties are considered best, but Robusta or a blend is also used. The coffee grounds are left in the coffee when served. The coffee may be ground at home in a manual grinder, made for the very fine grind, ground to order by coffee merchants in most parts of the world, or bought ready ground from many shops. Coffee and water, usually with added sugar. It is brought to the boil in a special pot called jazva in Turkey, and often called ibrik elsewhere. As soon as the mixture begins to froth and before it boils, it is taken off the heat. It may be briefly reheated twice more to increase the desired froth. Sometimes about one third of the coffee is distributed to individual cups. The remaining amount is returned to the fire and distributed to the cups as soon as it comes to the boil. The coffee is traditionally served in a small porcelain cup called a kahve finchani coffee cup. The amount of sugar is specified when ordering the coffee. It may be unsweetened, sade kahve, with little or moderate sugar, orta şekerli, or sweet Turkish, Tati. Coffee is often served with something small and sweet to eat, such as Turkish delight. It is sometimes flavored with cardamom, mastic, salep, or ambergris. A lot of the powdered coffee grounds are transferred from the jezva to the cup. In the cup, some settle on the bottom, but much remains in suspension and is consumed with the coffee. History, first appearing in the Ottoman Empire. Under the strictest interpretations of the Quran, the strong coffee was considered a drug and its consumption was forbidden. Due to the immense popularity of the beverage, the Sultan eventually lifted this prohibition. Turkish coffee culture had reached Britain and France by the mid to late 17th century. The first coffee house in Britain was opened by an Ottoman Jew in the mid 17th century. In the 1680s, the Turkish ambassador to France reportedly threw lavish parties for the city's elite where African slaves served coffee to guests in porcelain finjans on gold or silver saucers. Culture, fortune telling. The grounds left after drinking Turkish coffee are sometimes used to tell fortunes, a practice known as stasiography. The cup is turned over into the saucer to cool, and the patterns of the coffee grounds are interpreted. Turkish weddings. As well as being an everyday beverage, Turkish coffee is also a part of the traditional Turkish wedding custom. As a prologue to marriage, the bridegroom's parents, in the lack of his father, his mother, and an elderly member of his family, must visit the young girl's family to ask the hand of the bride to be and the blessings of her parents upon the upcoming marriage. During this meeting, the bride to be must prepare and serve Turkish coffee to the guests. For the groom's coffee, the bride to be sometimes uses salt instead of sugar to gauge his character. If the bridegroom drinks his coffee without any sign of displeasure, the bride to be assumes that the groom is good tempered and patient. As the groom already comes as the demanding party to the girl's house, in fact, it is the boy who is passing an exam, and etiquette requires him to receive with all smiles this particular present from the girl. Although in some parts of the country this may be considered as a lack of desire on the part of the girl for marriage with that candidate. Names and variants. Armenia. Turkish coffee is standard to Armenian households. In the Armenian language, it can be called Sev Surj black coffee or Kaj Karan Surj. Lit Armenian coffee, when prepared without any sugar, is called Surj Aran Shakari, but more commonly it's brewed with a little sugar, normal. Armenians introduced the coffee to Corfu when they settled the island, where it is known as Eastern coffee, due to its eastern origin. Corfu, which had never been part of the Ottoman holdings, did not have an established Ottoman coffee culture, before it was introduced by the Armenians. According to Reuben Percy anecdotes compiled by journalist Thomas Byerly, an Armenian opened a coffee shop in Europe in 1674, at a time when coffee was first becoming fashionable in the West. Armenians will sometimes serve baklava alongside the coffee. Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, and Lithuania. A beverage called Turečka kava or Turek is very popular in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, although other forms of coffee preparation, such as espresso, have become more popular in the last few decades, decreasing the popularity of Turek. Turek is usually no longer served in cafes, but it is prepared in pubs and kiosks, and in homes. The Czech and Slovak form of Turkish coffee is different from Turkish coffee in Turkey. In the Arab world or Balkan countries, since a chesve is not used, instead the desired amount of ground coffee is put in a cup and boiling or almost boiling water is poured over it. In recent years, Turkish coffee is almost made in a jezva. Jezva in Czech, but Turkish coffee usually means the method described above. Coffee is prepared in the same way in Poland and Lithuania. Greece. In Greece, Turkish coffee was formerly referred to simply as Turkish. But political tensions with Turkey in the 1960s led to the political euphemism Greek coffee, which became even more popular after the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in 1974. The Greek Turkish relations at all levels became strained. Turkish coffee became Greek coffee by substitution of one Greek word for another while leaving the Arabic loanword for which there is no Greek equivalent, unchanged. There were even advertising campaigns promoting the name Greek coffee in the 1990s. Balkans. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, Turkish coffee is also called Bosnian coffee, Bosanska kako, which is made slightly differently from its Turkish counterpart. A deviation from the Turkish preparation is that when the water reaches its boiling point, a small amount is saved aside for later, usually in a coffee cup. Then the coffee is added to the pot jezwa, and the remaining water in the cup is added to the pot. Everything is put back on the heat source to reach its boiling point again, which only takes a couple of seconds since the coffee is already very hot. Coffee drinking in Bosnia is a traditional daily custom and plays an important role during social gatherings. In Slovenia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Croatia, it is called Turkish coffee. Turska kava, domestic coffee, domaća kava, or simply coffee, kava, kafa, I kafa. It is nearly identical to the Turkish version. In Serbia, Turkish coffee is also called Srpska kafa, which means Serbian coffee. Nationalists tend to call it that way, while the most common name is domaća kafa, meaning domestic coffee.